Vietnam is entering the 2026-2030 development period with a new strategic focus. Economic growth must go hand in hand with environmental protection. This means shifting towards a circular, low-carbon model aligned with global green and digital transitions. But the shift requires enormous investment. According to expert assessment, Vietnam will need 12 to 14 billion US dollar per year just for green infrastructure. However, public budgets can only cover 35 to 40% of that. That's why PPPs are seen as crucial solutions. But while investors' interest is strong, many green PPP projects still face low approvals, unclear risk sharing, and limited bankability. At the local level, progress is uneven. The Provincial Green Index PGI released by VCCI in May 2025 show encouraging signals. Provinces are improving environmental governance and promoting green business practices.
But the starting point is a challenging one. The proportion of foreign lecturers at Vietnamese universities remains modest, accounting for only around 1% of the country's more than 77,000 lecturers. In comparison, top universities in Thailand and Singapore have already reached 10 to 25% international faculty. English top programs also remain limited, making up less than 10% of total undergraduate offerings. And amid intensifying global competition for high-quality human resources, Vietnam faces an uphill battle to achieve internationalization unless it swiftly improves its academic environment and talent attraction policies. Resolution 71 is expected to give Vietnam's universities the boost to compete in attracting, retaining, and developing global talent.
Now we move on to Deep Dive. Each week we spotlight a major issue in the region, and today we're examining a social trend reshaping several Asian countries. The idea of a new community in Asia is emerging against a backdrop of growing solitude, reflected in the steep decline of marriages across the region and profound social shifts now taking shape.
Exactly. China alone has seen marriage registrations fall by more than half in the last 14 years. Similar declines are now seen in Japan, South Korea, Thailand, and the Philippines. In places where family once anchored social life, many young people are hesitating or opting out entirely. And even those who do marry are doing so much later. Back in 1990, brides in Asia often married in their early 20s, while grooms were around 28. Today, women are closer to 30 and men are forming families well into their 30s. As Asia edges towards what some experts call a super solo society, producers and retailers are being urged to adapt. The rise of single consumers and one-person households could carry major economic and social consequences, reshaping spending habits and transforming how societies function.
Approaching year's end, there has been a twist in global bond markets. Emerging markets, once labeled high risk, are now showing surprisingly strong fundamentals. Emerging markets have low inflation, where prices are stable and predictable, budget surpluses where governments have extra funds instead of deficits, high economic growth with GDP expanding faster than many developed economies and attractive interest rates, yielding higher returns for investors. Meanwhile, the United States faced debt over 100% of GDP, budget deficit around 6% of GDP, and annual interest payments exceeding $1 trillion.
For World Children's Day, UNICEF has released its new flagship report mapping child poverty across 6 essential areas: education, healthcare, safe housing, clean water, nutrition, and the right to play and learn. The findings are more striking. More than 1 in 5 children, 470 million worldwide, are severely deprived in at least 2 of these areas. Addressing this challenge is far beyond the capacity of any single agency or country. It calls for a collective global effort from governments, communities, and all of us.
Today is Universal Health Coverage Day, a reminder that health is a human right, not a luxury. But the latest WHO report paints a stark picture. More than 4.6 billion people still lack access to essential health services midway through SDGs era. At this rate, 1 in 4 faces financial hardship when paying for care in 2030, the endpoint of the SDGs. Global service coverage has slowly risen from 54 points in 2000 to 71 points in 2023. But that progress is uneven. High-income countries have plateaued, while low-income nations, especially in Africa, continue to face the steepest gaps. At this rate, the global UHC service coverage index will remain below 80 in 2030. The cost remains the biggest barrier. For the world's poorest, 76% still pay out of pocket for health services, often at the expense of food, education, or housing. And medicines alone account for over 55% of all out-of-pocket spending, rising to 60% among the poor. Despite steady gains, the report warns that universal health coverage remains far off track for 2030, and without stronger investment, millions risk being pushed deeper into poverty by healthcare costs. Now, this year's message is clear. Unaffordable health costs, the world is sick of it.
We now turn to an in-depth look at Australia's unprecedented decision. The country on December 10th began enforcing the world's first social media ban for children under 16, a move driven by growing concerns about links between screen time and rising anxiety and depression among young people. Now, while children and parents will not be punished for infringing the ban, 10 major platforms, including TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, were ordered to block under 16 users. Those failing to comply face fines of up to 49.5 million Australian dollars under the new law that regulators worldwide are closely watching. About 1 million Australian children are expected to be affected, with many posting farewell messages. Meta has begun disabling accounts since December 4th, while more than 200,000 TikTok accounts have already been deactivated. Platforms will use age verification tools ranging from analyzing online behavior to estimating age through selfies or ID checks. Several countries from Denmark to New Zealand to Malaysia say they are studying or considering similar measures, making Australia a test case. In November, the European Parliament also called for setting minimum social media ages across the EU to address rising mental health issues among.
That is right, Lena. And Vietnam's startup ecosystem is expanding rapidly with more than 4,000 startups and 2 tech unicorns, according to the Ministry of Science and Technology. Within this growing landscape, artificial intelligence has emerged as a key driver. Figures released at TechFest Vietnam 2025 show that private investment in AI startups reached $80 million in 2024, an 8-fold increase from the previous year. Officials say AI is now the most dynamic areas of innovation. By the end of 2025, around 170,000 businesses nationwide had adopted AI technologies, reflecting rising demand for automation and digital transformation.
As Vietnam enters the final month of 2025, the country's import-export performance over the first 11 months has officially confirmed that many product groups have already reached and surpassed last year's full-year records. Among them are agricultural, forestry, and fishery products, long-standing strengths of Vietnam's export sector. Now, in the first 11 months of the year, export of agricultural, forestry, and fishery products exceeded $64 billion, up 12.6% year-on-year. And the main drivers of this growth were agricultural products, which recorded the strongest increase at 15%, followed by forestry products up 5.9% and fisheries rising 13.2%. Despite facing extreme weather events in recent months and even under the impact of U.S. reciprocal tariffs, Vietnam's agricultural exports have maintained solid growth across major markets in the final months of the year.
Kính chào quý vị đang theo dõi chương trình Hướng về Tổ quốc của Ban Truyền hình Đối ngoại Đài Truyền Việt Nam, diễn đàn để các chuyên gia trí thức người Việt Nam ở khắp nơi trên thế giới cùng hiến kế cho sự phát triển của quê hương đất nước. Và tôi là biên tập viên Đào Hà sẽ đồng hành cùng quý vị trong 30 phút của chương trình ngày hôm nay. Thưa quý vị, bên cạnh tôi lúc này là một khối Rubik với nhiều màu sắc đang dần được hoàn thiện. Và khối Rubik này thì gợi liên tưởng đến bức tranh kinh tế của Việt Nam trong năm 2025. Một năm ghi nhận nhiều dấu ấn quan trọng. Màu xanh ở trên khối Rubik thì tượng trưng cho sự ổn định vĩ mô khi mà tăng trưởng GDP duy trì ở mức 6,5 cho đến 7%. Lạm phát thì được kiểm soát trong mục tiêu đề ra. Và sự hòa trộn giữa màu đỏ mãnh liệt và màu xanh điềm tĩnh thì tạo nên màu tím. Đó là gam màu của sáng tạo và đổi mới. Đó là dòng vốn FDI công nghệ cao, các dự án về hạ tầng, năng lượng, công nghiệp chiến lược, phản ánh niềm tin ngày càng lớn của nhà đầu tư nước ngoài đối với Việt Nam. Màu cam, sắc màu của sự nhiệt huyết và kiên trì, cũng như là tinh thần tiến lên phía trước, cho thấy một giai đoạn rất đặc biệt. Việt Nam không chỉ phục hồi sản xuất từ khó khăn, mà còn chuyển từ tăng trưởng theo chiều rộng sang tăng trưởng theo chiều sâu, chú trọng chất lượng và hiệu quả. Và trong khối Rubik ấy thì vẫn còn những cái mảng màu khác. Đó là nâng hạng thị trường tài chính, nâng cao năng suất lao động, phát triển bền vững. Những yếu tố sẽ quyết định diện mạo bức tranh kinh tế của Việt Nam trong năm 2026. Vâng, thưa quý vị, những kết quả kinh tế của năm 2025 không chỉ đến từ nỗ lực của cộng đồng doanh nghiệp, mà còn phản ánh vai trò dẫn dắt của chính sách kinh tế trong một giai đoạn phát triển mới. Dự thảo văn kiện Đại hội Đảng lần thứ 14 thì đã xác định rất là rõ yêu cầu phải phát triển nhanh và bền vững, giữ ổn định vĩ mô và nâng cao chất lượng tăng trưởng. Những định hướng đó thì đang được cụ thể hóa ra sao trong thực tiễn điều hành của chính phủ? Mời quý vị theo dõi phóng sự sau. Vâng, thưa quý vị, từ những con số tăng trưởng của năm 2025 đến những định hướng phát triển cho năm 2026 và xa hơn, có thể thấy kinh tế Việt Nam thì đang đứng trước những cơ hội rất là lớn. Nhưng để biến cơ hội thành hiện thực thì Việt Nam không chỉ chú trọng xây dựng chính sách mà còn cần sự chung tay của toàn xã hội. Trong đó có phần quan trọng của cộng đồng người Việt Nam ở nước ngoài, những người luôn hướng về Tổ quốc bằng tri thức, nguồn lực và niềm tin. Chương trình Hướng về Tổ quốc của chúng tôi thì xin phép được khép lại tại đây. Cảm ơn quý vị đã dành thời gian theo dõi. Xin kính chào và hẹn gặp lại.
Now we turn to this week's focus. From 2021 to 2025, infrastructure has emerged as a major breakthrough under Vietnam's 13th Party Congress resolution. National Expressway network expected to reach 3,188 kilometers by the end of 2025. Key transport arteries now connect major economic regions, while urban rail projects in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City are gradually shaping modern mass transit systems. In aviation, Long Thanh International Airport is moving closer to completion and will soon serve as a new regional gateway. Meanwhile, deep-sea ports such as Lạch Huyện and Cái Mép Thị Vải can now handle the world's largest container vessels. Public investment in infrastructure has surged during this term, with more than 139 billion US dollars deployed in strategic projects, a 55% increase compared to the previous term, laying the foundation for sustained economic transformation.
Like you are seeing around us right now, large-scale infrastructural projects. From Long Thanh International Airport to the North-South Expressway, and not to mention seaport system, logistics hub, and newly developed urban areas. That is not just to expand Vietnam's development capacity, but also help Vietnam integrate more deeply with the world. Like you are seeing around us right now, large-scale infrastructural projects. From Long Thanh International Airport to the North-South Expressway, and not to mention seaport system, logistics hub, and newly developed urban areas. That is not just to expand Vietnam's development capacity, but also help Vietnam integrate more deeply with the world. 2025, Vietnam has experienced waves of typhoons and floods that has left, like you said, devastating loss. And amid all of these loss, it is also where we see Vietnamese spirits shines the brightest. Compassionate and ingenuity. Amidst all of this devastating loss, we are seeing technology taking center stage, helping people delivering food, aid, all the necessities. And, amidst all of this devastating loss, we've seen local
does make me question and curious, how is technology being integrated into everyday life?
roaming around, helping doctors delivering medicine, COVID-19 medicine to patients. In firefighting, you're also going to see technology tagging along with firefighters in the fight against intense blaze. But also in agriculture, you're also going to see technology helping farmers not only cutting down workloads, but also helping boosting efficiency.
Wow, that's amazing. It makes something very clear to me that technology and science is really its true meaning when it serves humanity, when every innovation extends a helping hand when it helps, uplifts, and protects people when they face their harshest challenge or reality.
You're exactly right.
Now, the year 2025 has officially come to an end, and looking back, we can confidently say that it was a year of major successes and remarkable breakthroughs for Vietnam's tourism sector. A year marked by outstanding milestones and a series of newly established records. In mid-December, Vietnam officially welcomed the nation's 20 millionth international visitor. And this marked the first time in the 65-year history of the tourism industry that such a milestone had been achieved within a single year. The surge in visitor numbers has translated into impressive revenue figures, with total tourism revenue expected to surpass 1 quadrillion Vietnamese dong, representing a 19% increase compared to 2024. And beyond the impressive statistics, Vietnam's tourism standing has also been firmly reinforced on the global stage. At the 2025 World Travel Awards, Vietnam was honored in 16 leading global categories, including several prestigious titles that it has successfully retained for consecutive years.
In 2025, Vietnam's export turnover reached $470.59 billion, up 15.9% year-on-year, a notable increase at a time when global demand has yet to recover fully. An estimated 36 out of 45 product groups recorded export values exceeding $1 billion. Notably, the top 10 export categories all posted positive growth. Exports of computers, electronics, products and components were estimated at $106 billion, surging 46% compared with 2024. And this also marked the first time Vietnam recorded an export category in $100 billion. And in 2025, exports of fruit and vegetable and seafood reached $19.8 billion, up nearly 15.2% from the previous year. And this performance reflects not merely a cyclical recovery, but also substantive improvements in processing capacity, quality, controls, traceability, and compliance with green standards. However, from an overall perspective, the export structure has yet to undergo a steep change as the FDI sector continues to account for the majority of export value. While export turnover has risen rapidly, deeper structural upgrading remains a key challenge.
Và thiên tai gây ra những thảm họa khốc liệt trên toàn cầu. Từ cháy rừng, động đất, ngập lụt đến sạt lở, nhiều khu vực đang phải đối mặt với mức độ thiên tai chưa từng thấy. Thế giới mong manh hơn trước biến đổi khí hậu và 2025 là lời cảnh báo rõ ràng. Xung đột bất ổn và thiên tai khó lường đang để lại những nỗi lo ngại, những xáo trộn trong đời sống của biết bao nhiêu người. Và chúng ta sẽ cùng tiếp tục lắng nghe những câu chuyện, những lời nhắn trong ngày cuối năm này của những người Việt trên thế giới.